Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Passion Point. My name is Caren Glasser, and thank you for being here. This is the show where we follow passionistas from around the world who are following their passion, making a living doing what they love. And today, our special guest is Cynthia Mazzaferro. Cindy is a retired physical therapist and an industrial ergonomist. We're going to talk about that later on, Cynthia. I don't even know what that is. For over 25 years, where her expertise was in treatment and rehabilitation of the patient and work site assessment and redesign and educational training for injury prevention. I'm sure that is so important on the job, especially. Cindy is currently reaching hundreds as she empowers them and offers many tools, techniques to heal as a Reiki master, energy healer, life coach, motivational teacher, and public speaker. I'm exhausted. And she is also a fine art artist and author of an upcoming book, very, very exciting. The book is called The Power Within, 3 Essential Keys to a Vibrant, Passionate, and Empowered You. Her unique expertise lies in her ability to assist you in determining your emotional pains and how they are limiting your happiness and success, and maybe even affecting your health. I am so happy to bring you in today, Cindy, to join the show. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Caren, and I'm so excited to be here on your show and speaking to your listeners. Thank you for that lovely, lovely bio and introduction.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm exhausted. You are accredited and certified. You have all these things that you do. I'm going to get back to the industrial ergonomist because that just, I don't know why I like that. But we're going to come back and talk about that. But in the meantime, we're going to start the show how we always do, and that's with a definition of the word passion. Now, I'm going to tell you what Webster's dictionary says about passion. Passion is A, intense, driving, or overmastering skill or conviction. That's what Webster says. What does Cindy say? What's passion to you?
I think passion is a state of being that wells within your heart, and it supports a deeper calling. It's something you were meant to do and bring into the world. And passion is really an emotional, energetic vibration. And I believe your passions become ignited when they're exactly aligned with your soul work. And so by understanding what your heart wants, what it desires, what your soul has been created to actually do in this world, your passions become so magnified and so exemplified in your life.
I love that. That's a beautiful, beautiful definition. You know, this is about you today, and I would like our viewers to find out your journey and listen to your journey, how you got from wherever you'd like to start, probably not in utero, but wherever you'd like to start, and how you came to be where you are today and helping people. Because these stories are so important for our listeners because they resonate with them and people connect with the different stories that we have out there. So, Cindy, please tell us your story.
Thank you for asking, Caren. We all have been affected by our childhood, which is natural. And I was one of 5 daughters, and my parents were divorced when I was 7 years of age. So I was the second oldest. So my families ranged from 9 years old to 9 months old. And my father was an Air Force pilot and gone a lot. And I was devastated when the day was that he was no longer in my life. And I felt rejected, abandoned, kind of like trash, like I was just thrown away because he was really never part of my life for the rest of my life. And so it was the way I internalized that, and it affected my emotions. It caused me to create behavior, defense mechanisms, which we all do because we perceive how that action that's going on in our life when we're young affects us. Right. And so I struggled throughout my life where I really, male affirmation was really important to me because I didn't have a father. I didn't have any male images really that was supporting me as a female. Mm-hmm. That said, you were tremendous. You hear the little word, daddy's little girl. Parts of my life that were really important that I think impacts a lot of women. The day I was married, the day I graduated, having daddy walk me down the aisle at my wedding, or the first daughter, right. Father dance. he wasn't there for me. So all my life I had this empty seat, and it was just another constant reminder that he left, that I was not valued. I didn't sense that I was valued as much. And I was a very outgoing person. I really liked being a tomboy. I was out with the boys and liked all that. I thought girls were too dramatic. But I also knew that my hands were very special when I was a very young child. My mother used to say I used to look up into the sky and I'd see the sun going through my hands, and there was something magical about that. And I didn't know at the time, but looking back, I just realized the energy from the universe and that my hands were going to play a very important role in my life. And so I ended up going to physical therapy, which I loved, and I loved working with people and rehabilitating them. And I also then eventually went and opened up my own company, which is called Industrial Ergonomics and Educational Services. So that
okay, I'm jumping in right there.
I'm right.
Because I don't know what it is about that phrase. What is that? What is an industrial ergonomist? What is that?
It's a big word,
Yeah.
but we've all heard about you go and buy an ergonomic chair or an ergonomic tool. And what that word ergonomics means is something that reduces your stress. So in the industrial environment, they want to prevent injuries, because when someone's injured, they have to pay workman's comp. There's lost employee time, lost productivity. So it's a very costly thing for companies. So I would actually go into companies and I would actually look at the work site. What are the body positions? What are the stresses that are incurred to the body? And actually redesign them or re-educate the employee how to prevent the injuries. So for example, I went to Smith & Wesson, which they make guns, and predominantly men. And I actually had to go in there because they had a very high incidence rate of back injuries. So here I am, a woman, and I'm going to teach them how to lift. And, so there's a little bit of a power struggle there. And I finally said, if I can show you how to lift correctly, then you should be able to do it too, right? Because I'm a woman and you're a man and you know how to do this. And so I went right down the site and showed them how to do it, and their injury rate went way down.
Wow.
So it's dramatic, but it's empowering the person to understand the knowledge. And if you don't have the knowledge, then you can't take the action steps to make the remedy, to prevent the injury and to treat it. So I'm all about empowering the individual with knowledge so that they can make their own steps of improvement in their own life.
That's fascinating. So what was, you left that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where did you go next?
So I ended up doing that, and I was covering all 3 shifts. And as my life continued on, I had children at this point. My husband was working and traveled internationally. So it was difficult for me to continue to do that on a full-time basis. So I ended up eventually weaning myself, not taking on additional clients, and then started to realize that my life was about my family. And I loved raising my 2 boys. And I did some private PT and home care therapy, different settings, sports therapies, but just not as demanding as my own business. And even in my business world, remember, I needed male affirmation, confirmation. I received it because I worked primarily in a male-dominated world. But I started to realize that I still always had this thirst for more. I wasn't getting enough nurturing, enough external support to make me feel good. And it started to kind of come into my life as I continued to grow in my family, that I wasn't really happy inside. And I struggled with weight a little bit, actually a lot. At one point, I actually lost 70 pounds of weight. And when I was actually able to heal and handle my emotional stress from my father's abandonment. But I'm trying to jump in ahead here a little. So I ended up really exploring my own personal growth, as well as I started to see a real direct connection to my clients. And they would, while we were doing the rehabilitation, I loved teaching. I really loved the teaching part so that they could take ownership in their rehabilitation. And what I found was they started to share that things were going on in their life. Like, for example, one person might say, I never had hip problems until my husband passed away 10 months ago. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, why would you even say that to me? And so she said, well, I don't know. It's just sometimes I just feel like I can't move forward in what I have to decide on.
Wow, that's powerful. Body and the body embodies the what's going on.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so it was kind of like an aha moment for me, because I started to pick up on that what people were struggling with in their life was physically being experienced in different parts of the body. And so, they don't teach you that in physical therapy school or medical school, but it was something I started to see a real strong connection to. And so as a therapist, as a coach, I started to say, well, maybe you need to, what do you think about actually stepping into that situation you're uncomfortable with? Why can't you drive to New Hampshire and see your son? Why, even though your husband always did a drive? Don't you feel you know how to drive, right? And so it was like giving them the confidence that they could do what they felt uncomfortable doing. And realize all of a sudden they would come back a week later for the treatment and says, I went and did that drive and I went and spoke at this thing, and my hips don't hurt anymore.
It's almost like a miracle. You're like a miracle worker in many respects. And I can't even imagine the excitement that your clients have when they do something they thought they could never do. Do you have any interesting stories you want to share, without names, of course, of how that one is one? And do you have any other ones and how this manifests?
I have a tons, but one of the most profound ones was a woman who lived on the east side wall of Berlin Wall, east side. And she was physically abused and sexually by her mother and stepfather. She would be stark naked, strapped to a chair, and this is her whole life. And she lived with the tanks going around and bombs and people hanging from the Berlin Wall and been shot there and left there as a mascot, like, don't try to flee. And so this kind of turmoil existed in her whole life. And, she would run away at times and live in the woods and go to school. She loved school. And eventually, the school teachers would take her in, and she lived in this turmoil. She never had a mother that hugged her. I mean, we think of the basic elements of our emotions that she never experienced. Well, she was attending one of my workshops, and it was a 10-week program, and it was called The Power Within. And she had fibromyalgia for over 50-something years, which is undiagnosed pain, but it's neuralgia all throughout your body. It's crippling. She had fought depression all her life. She had some autoimmune diseases. Her spine was crumbling. And so while she was going through the process, she realized that so much of it was tied to her childhood. So as her world was deteriorating around her as a child, so too was the energy in her body, which impacted physically in her symptoms. Wow. And so she made some significant progress during the class, and she had no money. And so I offered her to come to my house, and I did a Reiki session, one Reiki session. And she had normally had a fibromyalgia pain level of 8 to 10, 24/7 for 50 years. None of the doctors could treat her, give her any remedies or improvement with medicine even. And she was on my table, and before she rolled over, I asked her, so what is your pain level now? And she thought, I have absolutely zero pain level.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
In just one setting. It was amazing. And anything I do with Reiki energy, this was a Reiki treatment. I only profess it's not me doing the healing. It's the universe. It's God, if you believe in God, but the divine. I'm just a conduit. And, but it was profound. And when she rolled back over and I did the other treatment, she got up and she said it was like the whole world, the room that we're in, was different. It was lighted. It was illuminated. And she never had any reoccurrence in her fibromyalgia pain for months and months and months. And she went to the doctor, her neurologist, and he just said, you have to continue. And that's just tremendous. But what happens is, and this is kind of like, just let me share this one thought, is what happens is when you are hurt, even in the present moment or in the past, you carry the emotional impact, whether it's your perception, your behavior, your lack of action, your action, whatever it is that you did, you internalize it. And if you keep that energy, if you keep that emotional impact in you long enough, it will affect the energy flow in your body. And it's like the blood flow. If your energy flow is impacted, then that area becomes symptomatic, and you can actually create a physical or a mental symptom. And so when you restore that energy flow, then you can improve the physical and mental, emotional symptoms that you're experiencing.
It's a beautiful way you're explaining that. I know that I personally have experienced it when I have stress and anxiety. One of the questions that I always ask myself is, where am I feeling it?
Yes.
You know, because people feel their anxiety in different places. I tend to feel it right here in my chest, like I'm going to have like a heart attack, and it's, you know, pounding, pounding, pounding. Other people get it in their head or in their. It's very. I didn't realize there was that much of a direct correlation.
It is. It's significant. I mean, people who say, you know, everyone will say, I have a trouble area, my ears or my throat or my stomach. And that's because the energy, and if you worked with me, I could actually find out what your areas are, weaknesses. You can actually impact and improve that energy flow fairly quickly, really quickly. And then you start to change your behavior mechanisms. You release the emotional pain. And I actually have an exercise later on. I know you had asked me to kind of put an exercise together that will help you, teach you how to release that emotional weight, emotional pain that holds and harnesses and traps your energy. It's kind of like you're stepping on a garden hose.
Well, if you don't mind, let's do it right now. Let's do an exercise. Let's do it right now.
Okay, so what I'd like you all to do is to just put your feet on the floor, uncrossed, and just close your eyes and feel, like Caren said, where is your stress right now? Where do you feel it? It could be in your shoulders, your heart, your stomach, your ears, your head, anywhere. And just focus on that area. And then I want you to quantify it. What level of pain or heaviness do you feel? Give it a 1 to a 5. 5 is the very severe amount, and 1 is very little. So just remember that number. And then I want you to move that heaviness from wherever you're talking about to your heart. So the center of your chest, where your heart is. And just meditate and concentrate on bringing that heaviness, the stress, into your heart so we can deal with it. Very good. And then I want you to just consciously breathe in and breathe out through your mouth a couple times more. And feeling this heaviness as you're breathing in. And then I want you to, on your exhalation, just go ahead and breathe out loud. Allow this heaviness to be felt and released. Even if you're releasing pain from a childhood moment, a memory, it's okay. You don't have to relive it. Just let it go. It serves no point, no purpose holding it trapped in you. You can't deal with it. It's trapped and hidden. So just breathing in, light and love, relaxation and peace, and blowing out pain, stress, hopelessness, anger, fragility, whatever the word is that you want to use, just let it go and keep doing that a few times. And then start to notice in your heart space how it starts to feel. The number that you had assigned it from the original location. As you continue to do this, see if that number is going down. I know it will be. And as you continue to do it, it will continue to get less and less. And I'm believing in you. And it's important that you want to let this go. It's like toxic fumes. It's like toxicity. You need to let it go. Caren, so I'm just going to ask you, so how is that feeling for you right now? What's your number? What was it originally? And what
it was a number 4.
It was a 4?
It was a 4, and I felt it in my chest, so I moved it, you know, well, the heart's sort of there. I moved it into my heart. And I do practice breathing exercises with mindfulness, so I'm very aware of that. And I could feel it releasing. I think we got it down to about a 2.
Awesome. Great. And so then if you weren't in the heart to begin with, let's say your stomach was your area, you would then, once you finish this meditation, you would do it as long as you need to get it down to that 0 or 1. Then you'd go back to the original site and say, okay, now that I'm done, how does my stomach feel, if that was your primary spot? And you'll notice there was no heaviness there. And so the longer that you've held this energy there, it might take a few times to do this. But it's very impactful, and it's just a really one quick way to intervene and help yourself.
That's a great exercise. Thank you. I know our listeners are going to be trying or going to be doing this, our viewers are going to be doing this. This is a great exercise. I'll do this on a regular basis now. It's just one more thing to add to my arsenal of how to control stress and anxiety, because that's, you know, that's my thing.
And see, Caren, what you might also want to consider is we hold it in certain areas because if you're familiar with the word chakra, we have different 7 main chakras. They're like the vortexes, energy vortexes, that they all have special areas of focus. Like for you, Caren, your heart is a feeling vortex. Okay?
Right.
So you may be impacted from childhood and even in today's life very emotionally. That you may take in, you know, when things are happening around you, it's a wound to your heart. It's a
Wow.
That's how it affects you. Now, for someone else, that it affects their, let's say, self-esteem. That's in your solar plexus areas. That's in your space above your belly button to your rib area. So you may have digestion issues. You might have ulcers. You may have hernias. But you might always have stomach pains. But it's because your self-esteem is being affected, and it was affected back when you were a child. So when you start to identify the area that you're impacted, you will see the soul lessons or the aspects that you have to now work on to grow and evolve as a soul.
Oh, I love this. This is fascinating, and totally fascinating. And I think that we're going to have you back on to do a more advanced into the chakras and all that stuff. And this is really great. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I want to talk about your upcoming book.
Okay.
It's called The Power Within: 3 Essential Keys to a Vibrant, Passionate, and Empowered You. What's the book about? When are you expecting it to come out? Because we want to lead our listeners and our viewers to go buy it.
Great. I'm hoping it'll be out by 2016. It's really exciting. And again, remember, my soul work is about empowering you. I'm about empowering you and giving the tools that you need to make the changes that you need. Not everyone can come to my workshops. Not everyone can come and see me. So this is a book that is really going to give you step-by-step process that I would take my students through, that you can actually identify your areas that you need to work on. So it's a book of personal transformation, and there's a lot of support throughout the whole thing. So we're talking about the past component, then we talk about the present, learning to love yourself, learning to change and take actionable steps, both in a cognitive way, mental way, emotional way, spiritual way, if you are so guided that way, to really make the changes, because you are responsible. This is very powerful, and people don't like to take this responsibility, but you are responsible for the joy that you bring into your life.
Right.
You're also responsible for the sadness that you feel and experience. And so when you learn to shift the energy into a positive framework, your whole life changes exponentially, and in every aspect, emotionally, mentally, physically, consciously, subconsciously, spiritually, everything changes in the positive. And I can tell you from personal experience, things fall at your feet constantly. Miracles happen constantly because you are in a different energetic field.
Well, you know, it's funny. I'm watching you as you speak, and you have this light, this energy, and obviously this passion for what you speak of. And I can just imagine, because I'm getting the feeling that I need to work with you. It's that kind of, you pull people in, and that I love that. And I wanted to point that out, because you are radiant on screen. You radiate what you are talking about. And, you know, we've been talking about passion, and I have a quote about passion that I'd like to share with our listeners and our viewers. It's anonymous. Nobody has taken credit for it. So unless somebody wants to send me in something to say, I know who wrote this, or I did. The quote is this: "The secret to success, regardless of your passion, is no secret. Just work hard and add real value to people's lives." What do you feel about that?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And there is no greater gift than giving value to somebody else. But I will say to you, because I have learned it myself, that you are limited by how much value you give someone by the limited beliefs in yourself.
Right. Do you have a quote that you live by?
I love one of Marianne Williamson's quote, and it's part of her poem, or I think it's actually a prayer. It's called A Return to Love. And it's, our deepest fear is that we are not adequate, that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us the most.
True that.
It's so powerful. And until you believe in yourself, and I encourage every one of you to start to see the light in you, the beauty in you, because if you don't see it, why should anyone else look at you upon that way?
Well, you're right. And the responsibility, as you said, lies within us. And if we are not happy, if we don't know what makes us happy, if we don't know how to be happy, how can we possibly expect somebody else to know what those answers are and to make us happy? It is our responsibility. Absolutely. Okay, this is going to sound like a slightly odd question, but I love the answers that I get. And that is, if you could spread passion dust anywhere in the world, on anyone in the world, who would you spread it on, and what would you hope to accomplish?
My passion dust would be what my goal is, what my soul purpose work is. And my passion dust would become fertilizer that would be spread amongst the world, that they would see their beauty within themselves. And if we could all resonate as loving beings of ourselves, then we would love everyone in the world. And that my fertilizer onto you would then be your fertilizer, that you then can nurture your gifts that the divine has given you, the creator has given you, that then you can touch the world in your special way. Because we are all part of a master plan. And your piece of the puzzle is so instrumental. Because if we have a big puzzle and your piece is the one that's void, that's not part, that's not connecting to the other ones, then we never finished our puzzle.
Right. Absolutely. Any last thoughts? Do you want to send them somewhere to continue this conversation, get to know you? Where should we send them?
Yeah. I want to make sure I give you the right URL. I was so excited about Caren inviting me to his show. I just am so blessed. And again, it's a miracle that's come to me. I am delighted. I've done other ones, but Caren is so well known and her audience is so receptive and interactive. And I just applaud your work. And I know Nancy's also a part of your team. And I just thank you for this wonderful opportunity. So I really wanted to give my listeners, or your listeners, a very special gift. So what I have put together is I put together a bundle of support, love, and healing that includes 4 powerful, guided, shamanic meditations, which are infused with Reiki healing energy. And as a Reiki master, I can actually provide the Reiki flow to span time, any time, even in past lives, as well as any distance. So you could be in Switzerland and you would still feel the Reiki through this meditation. So there's 4.
Wow, that's exciting.
So there's 4 powerful meditation Reiki sessions. And with that, there's also a downloadable guide, a meditation Reiki healing guide that you would want to download and print off. And that you're actually going to use that and give quantifiable objectives on it. You'll see it when you open it. That will help you see the progress you're making. And every meditation is a different theme. So there's content rich in it as well. And it's working on your whole body and mind and spirit. So the way you get that is, let me just make sure I got it, is www. In my name, then it's Cindy, Cindy, and my last name, Mazzaferro, Mazz, 2 Z's and zebra, AF is in Frank, ERRO.com, and then it's /free, FREE hyphen, gift, GIFT, / and I know Caren will have that in
the link. Yeah, the link will be right below in the run sheets. First of all, wow. Thank you. That's so generous. I'm going to be over there in just a moment. I'm going to download it myself. That's very generous. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And for those of you who are saying, where do I get mine? Where do I get mine? The link is directly below. I also want to remind you to support our sponsor. And today it happens to be Cindy. Cindy is our sponsor. So go and support her and click on the ad above us and go check out what's going on over there. Cindy, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I know that our viewers received so much value and so much enjoyment, and we laughed and we had some fun here today. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I thank you for your time. And I hope the listeners really feel that they're empowered right now because you have the power within you to make the changes that you want in your life and in your own persona. No one else can do it, and you don't want to ever give that power away to someone else.
Amen. Amen. That absolutely. And I want to thank our viewers because we know that you have a choice as to where you spend your time. And we want to thank you for spending your time with us today. So as always, have a great week, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of The Passion Point. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.